And my guest on the Zoom today, Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Morning, Mr. Seth. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. Hey, I feel the need to do a check-in with you, my friend. The Bears got obliterated on Monday Night Football. Caleb Williams, he takes one step and he's under pressure and he's running for his life. As a friend in mental health and just a friend outside of this space, I feel the need to check in. Are you okay this morning, Tony?
Oh, well, yeah, it's been a tough one, but yeah, I would be lying if I said I didn't be practicing some of my mindfulness and my box breathing whenever he snaps the ball. So, I'm a man of faith and I've been executing my spiritual prayer life pretty regularly right now. So I guess all eyes on the draft, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, you and me both, my friend. You and me both. Very good, very good. Well, don't let it get you down this holiday season, Tony. Let's not let the Bears impact that sort of stuff. And right. Speaking of the holidays, Tony, I know you and I have touched on this in the past. You were telling me I can't even imagine losing my dad on Christmas. You mentioned to me you lost him about 11 years ago. I know last year I shared I lost my father just after Thanksgiving. So last year's holiday season was certainly one for the books for us. Let's dive into folks that are going through stuff this holiday season, man. It's not fun. Having been through it once and now twice. This is not fun. I don't wish this on anybody. How do we handle this?
Yeah. So again, my condolences to you and your family. Losing somebody during the holidays is difficult because, while we always have things that remind us of our loved ones, it seems that whenever someone passes towards the holiday, there is this classical conditioning that happens of, okay, the holidays are happening, which brings up these feelings of grief. I mean, and if we're not careful, we can choose to give away our joy and our happiness by continuing to commemorate the loss instead of celebrating the life. And so, one of the things that I recommend to people, and I even put into my practice is, Seth, I don't have it all figured out. And just because I have a few letters behind my name still doesn't mean that at times my life is not a dumpster fire. And so the first couple of years were tough of trying to figure out what was the new normalization. So, when you have somebody that you care for and you love, they take up space in your life. And when that is suddenly removed, there is a vacuum. And so you get to choose what you put into that vacuum. Do you put sorrow? Do you put remembrance in there? Same thing to be said about, holidays and traditions. Dad's not at the table anymore. We used to do these activities with loved ones. And so I try to recommend people it's not that you're forgetting those that have gone before us, but I believe that they would want us to live and to thrive in our lives. So maybe it's putting new traditions in place, new habits, maybe, things that we can look forward to instead of things that we're hoping to avoid.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be tough for the family that has that tradition of, we went out and look for a tree, and dad cut down the tree at the tree farm, out in the country, or, dad made the meal, or, mom did this and now she's not here. Mom cooked Christmas Eve dinner and we went to church, and it's got to be difficult because those are such staples to how we do things during the holiday season, Tony.
Yeah, I agree. I think, though, if we spend too much of our time looking backwards, it's going to rob us of today and tomorrow. So if anything, loss should teach us that time with our loved ones is precious. Time is a thief, and it's the greatest commodity that we can give each other. So we sit around that table and we look at mom and spouse and kids and realize that this is a very special time. And do we want yesterday to rob the present?
Well said, Tony. That was exceptionally well said. Can I ask you kind of a personal question? You mentioned you lost your father on Christmas Day. That can't be easy. What is your Christmas Day look like now with that in mind? How have you handled that?
Well, let me tell you about how it was unhealthy. So my dad died on Christmas Day of a sudden heart attack. And for the first 2 years, I went, as a father and a married man, I went on Christmas morning to his grave, consumed with trying to figure out how to put my grief together, realizing that, again, I look back at it now, I'm like, you had young kids, and that was Christmas morning, and it was something I chose to go and do by myself. And so for now, if it makes any sense, while the holidays still have that reminder of that was a bad day 11 years ago, I pre-grieve, if that makes any sense. So I say, all right, middle of December, I'm going to go out to his grave. I'm going to pay my respects. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to mourn. And then I'm going to enjoy the day that God has given me with my family on Christmas Day. So it's not like I've not acknowledged the loss, but I'm scheduling it so that it doesn't rob my today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes a lot of sense for sure. So, Tony, we were talking about this off the air a little bit, about again, Tony Kirkman, Piatt County Mental Health Center, our guest on the Zoom call for today. We were talking about, and you mentioned it. Don't let the grief of today rob your grief rob today and tomorrow and all those things. So as we embark on a new year, Tony, how, and maybe those wounds of loss are fresh, maybe for you, they've, had time to scar and to recover and those sorts of things. Wherever we're at in this stage, you, me, anybody else, how do we make 2025 a year where it says, okay, I'm not going to dwell in this anymore. I'm not going to let it rob me of any more todays. I want to be respectful to my loved one or friend or whoever that I've lost, but I also want to forge ahead and be productive and not wallow in this. How do we do that in the year ahead?
Yeah, I had a good graduate professor that told me that grief are like waves in an ocean,
mm-hmm.
and the peak doesn't ever subside. So, but the distance between the waves do.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times, raising my kids, that it would be nice to have good fatherly counsel. And when that wave comes up, I experience it, I embrace it, and I move on. And so for me, as I mentioned before, I think new traditions are helpful. I think ways of honoring the loved ones. So I am horribly ignorant when it comes to home repair. And my dad was a mechanic. So I've kind of pushed myself into, and YouTube is fantastic. I'm a YouTube maintenance guy all the way. I just don't touch water or electricity because I think that's a lesson you'll learn one time. So for me, it's like, I'm going to learn a new skill so that, I don't know, I'm making my dad proud that I'm not calling a handyman on certain things. So,
yeah.
Or teaching my kids something. I'm passing something through. Mm-hmm. So, my dad was a Bears fan. And so I'm teaching them suffering is what I'm doing. So they made, as I said, that person is a placeholder. And when they leave, there's a vacuum. But you can continue their legacy through something that's very pro-social. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so I don't know, something that your dad was really talented at or a habit that he had, or I don't know. We had several years ago, and this is just how old I am and my family is. My dad loved pork chops with applesauce on it. Mm-hmm. And so I pulled that out and showed my boys. I'm like, this is a dish my dad liked. And they said, this is disgusting. I'm not touching it. And I had a great laugh because I'm like, he's still around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Gosh, man, I tell you, some of that chokes me up a little bit, Tony, because I have something going on at my house and I need help. And my dad was always there to help me, and I don't have that right now. And you talk about, my, so we have, we foster dogs for the second chance group in town, or for the dog adoption group in town. And we've got, every time a dog comes in, whether it's got a name or not, my dad would always come up with just goofy names for it. And so my kids have kind of carried that on now. They've got just goofy names for these damn dogs that are running around my house now. That really hit home. That was excellent advice. I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. No, and it sounds like Dad's still living on in your family too.
Yep. My kids love my dad. They really did. So now let's, Tony, in terms of just, as we get into January, and even right now, these are the shortest days of the year as we're in the holidays. And I know my mom, when my dad passed, she really struggled because there wasn't sunlight and it was just dark so fast and during the day. How do we deal with, seasonal affective disorder and all of that? And we don't have to be dealing with a loss. This impacts everybody at every stage. So how about this?
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder, while not recognized as a mental health disorder, it is recognized by the medical community of that we see that self-reports of depression and loneliness do increase during this time of year. One, just the natural, as you mentioned, lack of sunlight. And so, when we go outside and the sun beats on the back of our head, there are neurochemicals that are released that help for stress relief and for endorphin relief, and we have an absence of that. So some individuals that really struggle with heightened depression or anxiety during the winter months, they actually do have lights that you can purchase that just sit kind of behind your head. You sit in the recliner, and it does show it's evidence-based that it does work. I'd also say one of the other precursors for increased depression is that we're not getting out and doing things, so we're not physically active. So get to the gym, go outside and walk, or join a social group. That we don't have a lot of things. We don't run into a lot of people. So I'm always big on gratitude apps and service, because we find a purpose that's greater than ourselves. And as you mentioned about the dogs, I think that's great, is that you're helping the pet population and you are caring for a living being that otherwise might not have received compassion. So find those things that are bigger than yourself that you can look back on and say, I had a input in making this world a little better of a place.
Maybe volunteer a little bit.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of bells that need to be rung by Red Kettle. So.
Yep. Sure. Very good, Tony. Well, this is great stuff. I'll tell you what, let's take a break here, my friend. Come back with some more. How do folks follow along with Piatt County Mental Health Center and all the things going on?
Yeah, you can give me a call at 217-762-5371. Check us out online, PiattMHC.org. Or check us out on social media on our Facebook page.
Tony Kirkman is the Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, my guest on the Zoom call today. More to come with Tony on The Morning Show.
WHOW.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
When you visit Lincoln Memorial Hospital, you might not remember our state-of-the-art facilities or the high-tech equipment we use, but you will remember how great you were treated. As a Pathway to Excellence hospital, LMH is a recognized leader in nursing support. And committed colleagues mean better, more compassionate care for you and your family. Memorial Health, where great care comes together.
To you, our friends and patrons of ServPro in Piatt and DeWitt counties, comes a sincere thank you for your patronage during our years in business. Holiday greetings. May the joy of the Christmas season remain with you through the coming year. May it find you blessed with good friends, good health, and good cheer. To one and all, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from ServPro of Piatt and DeWitt counties, your fire and water restoration specialists, like it never even happened.
Are you wanting to learn more about your health and wellness options in Central Illinois? Visit stealthwellness.com or click on my banner ad at DeWittDailyNews.com. Let me, Dr. Bill Byers, show you some simple, under-the-radar ways to improve and take control of your health.
This is Brett Zerfowski with Central Cremation Center. We have expanded our business and now offer private pet cremations to memorialize your loyal companion. Find out more about us by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Tony Kirkman is the executive director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, our guest on the Zoom call today. And Tony, I know that last month you and I were celebrating the fact that Piatt County passed a sales tax, or a tax, I guess I should say, to support a 708 board in Piatt County, and things are moving right along with that. What's going on? What's the latest?
Yeah, so again, very excited. Post-election, we found out that Piatt County, by almost 60% on our first try, backed and voted in a 708 mental health levy. This is a levy that is used on assessed property value to provide financial resources for developmental services, substance use treatment, and mental health treatment to underfunded or unfunded programs. And so as soon as that vote is actually ratified, there's a whole mess of stuff that goes into action that's very, very time sensitive. The first one is that a 708 mental health board must be appointed, and then a quarterly meetings need to be set. And so that has all been moving. We graciously have a lot of Piatt County volunteers that have stepped up. So we have an 8-person board that was appointed just last week, I'm sorry. And we determined that while legally the county can request a 0.15% levy, that in our inaugural year, we would not get up to that level. We want to do a needs assessment across the county to see exactly what is needed to support and enhance. So the county board passed a 0.1% levy, which should generate an estimated amount of revenue in the ballpark of $626,000 to go towards supporting those resources.
Yeah, sure. So what will, as that board is put together, and they begin to meet, what will their early conversations be around? And do you get to guide them in that? I mean, obviously you're not on that board. Do you get to sit in and, maybe lead a discussion, or, what does that look like early on, Tony?
Yeah, I think that as the only provider of all 3 of those services, now we have other service providers in the county that provide those individual. One will maybe do developmental service, or one mental health, or something else like that. We are the only social service provider that has all 3 under our roof. And so I feel like we have a pretty good read on the need and the resources that are in this county. As I've mentioned to you before, we do not discriminate based upon payer source. So for some of our services, we take on a significant deficit, especially in our mental health. And so that was one of the big requests to the county, was that if you want a community mental health center to exist in your county that is ran and operated and staffed by local residents, then there needs to be a supplement revenue source, which is primarily 708. Because as you remember, Seth, we had HRC in DeWitt County, and they ran into the exact financial challenges that we have right now. And quite frankly, if the 708 board does not choose to provide the support, we could be looking at a similar fate 10, 15 years down the road. But I have the confidence in this board. They're going to see the need, they're going to see the services, and listen to how the county voted to support our current services in place.
Remind us, Tony, when you start to see the trickling down of those dollars to that board and when they can start to distribute those.
My understanding is that now that the levy has been passed, the earliest that providers can expect to receive funding would be around August of 2025.
Oh, so that's not far away.
No, not very far away, but when you're got a lot of red lines in some of your services, it seems pretty far away too.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, will you have to apply for those dollars? Can they immediately come to you? How will that work? Very quickly, we're running out of time. Sorry, Tony.
Yep, that's all right. We're just like every other provider. We're going to have to put our need and our application in line, and then the 708 board determines the merits of that and then awards funding.
Gotcha. Very good. Tony, where do folks go to keep up with all things Piatt County Mental Health Center?
Check us out on PiattMHC.org. Give me a call, 217-762-5371. And unfortunately, I don't TikTok dance, so you're going to have to catch us on Facebook.
You're not, what's the kid from the Sixers that does all the TikToks? You're not athletic in TikTok, huh, Tony?
No, as my kids say, I have no drip.
Hey, that's very good. Tony, always good to talk to you, my friend. Hey, Merry Christmas to you and yours. And I just love our conversations, Tony. You're the best, my friend.
Merry Christmas, my friend. God bless.
Tony Kirkman, Executive Director of the Piatt County Mental Health Center, our guest on the Zoom call today. Network News on the way.
WHOW.